sure I'm already recording where I need to be.
Right. I'm like, this might be the first ever audio only version of this because this is going to be pretty dope.
Mic check 1 2. Yeah, we should be good. Okay, we're good. We're good.
All right, we're good.
Yep, we're good.
All right, my recording is going. You got everything going where you need it to go.
Let's see. I'll get us some background instrumentals here.
I like the little slight background stuff.
Yeah, it just helps fill in. I don't like dead air.
So dead air is a very real thing that we're struggling to deal with. I think even because, like I said, especially when you're making up stuff as you go with the questions, having to kind of check and cross-reference. Have we already asked it? Have we already talked about that? It's a real thing. So
it is, and it's
I do think this is going to be the first. I don't think I'm actually going to release this video. I think I'll post it to kind of get the advertisement out there, but I'm going to send a file.
Okay.
So I'll do it that way. So it's going to be something different.
Yeah, and I mean, once you listen to it, like you'll be like, it's kind of one of those things where you'll be addicted to the sound.
That's man, look.
So you'll be like, oh shit, like this shit sounds so much more clearer. It sounds so much more professional.
Right. I feel like we're having sex over the airwaves right now.
It's like, very sensual.
Very, very intimate.
Very intimate.
This is way more intimate than like, God damn.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that and sometimes like it's funny, but like I'll have conversations with people that are close to me in the mics just so they can hear themselves talk. Because what'll happen is in regular conversation, people can get passionate about something and their voices start to get elevated, and you kind of feel like, a lot of people can misconstrue that as anger or aggression or, and it's really just passion sometimes. But for the most part, like when people stick these headphones in and they hear themselves, they will counter adjust.
Right. Yeah, this is an adjustment. Because what's funny is I actually don't like my voice at all. Like growing up in Northern Virginia with family from Mississippi, you get called a lot of things, branded a lot of things. You don't really hear your true voice. This is the first time I think I've heard my voice, and I'm like, oh, I sound sexy as shit right now. like damn, like okay, like let's go with this. So
and I mean, if you're gonna be doing this podcast thing too, like you might as well get used to the sound of your own voice.
This is real. So in this podcast thing, I almost forgot we were recording for a second.
Hey, that's what happens when you have good conversation and just flow.
That's a real thing, and so why I got you on. You are one half of the piece that drove me to do this, and inspired me to do this. So I want to give you a chance to tell me about your message, your platform, tell my audience about it. I know a lot of times people are so focused on driving their own business that we don't give back to the people that, helped us get there. So before we get into too many other questions, I want you to talk about what you got going on.
Well, first and foremost, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. It helps to acknowledge where we find and where we get our inspiration from. So big ups to you for even being transparent enough to say that to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you. And to your audience as well. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey.
I am Elise Sadler, a.k.a. Honeybee.
Yes, ma'am.
And I run the Conversation Lifestyle and Entertainment Podcast.
So what's funny about that is I didn't know that the L&E stood for that.
Yes.
I thought it was your name and
Lysandra's
name. And I was like, that made sense. So I'm glad to get that clarification. Okay.
Yeah, podcasts are normally broken down into genres.
Yes.
And so one of the genres, or two of the genres that we're attacking for the Conversation Podcast is lifestyle and entertainment.
Okay.
So it kind of gives us an opportunity to be broad, but centering us to have a specific audience to target.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your audience? Who do you want tuning in to this podcast?
So age range wise, we're looking at 35 to 45 in regards to our age demographics. As far as who, though, maturity has no age. Okay. So we're honestly looking for people who are seeking to live their truth unapologetically. And when I say live their truth, it's more so being confident in who they are, having the courage to find their voice, and once they find it, listen. Right. And once they listen, be in a position to where they're open to hear others' perspectives, because that's how we grow. Everything starts with the conversation. So, that's the reason for the platform. It first started as a social networking platform. Right. And right. I mean, it was just literally a bunch of people who kind of got together to make a platform for intellectuals to come together and to converse about these different things, topics, whatever people wanted to post on Facebook, that, would require people to actually dig and get in deep to some topics.
Right. So your favorite topics to talk about, or your favorite topics to hear people talk about, what do you have anything in particular that just really, I guess you could say, tickles you or warms your heart to hear?
Okay, I love aliens.
Aliens, okay. So this is a real thing, because we I don't know if you saw our video on did we land on the moon?
I did not.
Yeah, so there's an outside recording of us on the rooftop, and halfway through it we kind of get into did we really land on the moon, and my perspectives on it. My boy Gaudi and Brandon, we definitely dive into that. But I'm interested to know, like, aliens. That's
So it's more so of the universe. Okay. I really, really like delving into people's thoughts and theories on how it is that we evolved, how it is that we arrived. Because, we're all completely clueless to how we actually got here. Of course, right. There's science behind it. There's religion behind it. Yeah. There's so many different things behind it. But at the end of the day, we just don't fucking know. Right. And it's just interesting. For me, aliens, the universe, all that stuff, it like brightens my world, because I'm just like, I know I'm different in the world that I live in. Could I be an alien? Could I be from somewhere, and I'm just happen to be here right now in this lifetime, and I'm just riding this shit out? Because I'm gonna tell you, y'all fucked up out here. Like,
that's Elise Sadler on the mic. That's Elise Sadler.
Y'all are people are just so driven to make this blueprint of what American or what the world says that you are or are supposed to be, and you're born with all of these,
archetypes.
Yes, and it's like you can very, very rarely find out who it is that you are, because so many conditionings and learned behavior is forced on you from such an early age.
Yeah. So of those conditioned things, because this podcast, for anybody who's listening, this is going to be probably the first audio only, even though we'll post some of the video. So, but I really want this to be Elise driven. So this is going to be about you today. Okay, this is going to be about women today, and you're going to speak for yourself, but you're going to speak ladies. On a women's behalf. So, of those archetypes that we talked about, like, which thing do you, let's say, disagree with the most? Or what's the hardest box for you to fit in?
Oh my God, boxes. I fucking hate them. I hate boxes because it makes me apologize for being who I am, and it also tries to define me and hold me into something that I have to accept because I live in this world. Right. But I don't have to make that define me.
Right. So, this is one question I like to ask people, right? So when you define what defines you, right? Do you think of yourself first as a human? Do you think of yourself first as a woman or a black woman? Like, how do you, if I said, hey, put those things in order,
So that's a really good question, because I often will ask people this question without telling me what you want, what you own, what you do. Tell me who you are.
Ooh, shit. Thank God it's not Bruce on the mic. It's Elise on the mic. So you tell me about you.
I first start with soul. And for me, who I am, I'm a reflection of God. Like I am right, I am wrong, I am light, I am darkness. Like I just develop, or I engulf so many different things. I'm, at the end of the day, of the day, though, the first thing that I will say to anybody is that I am love.
Okay.
And I am love because I choose to try to practice or try to make that the first thing that anything that I put my hands on or have thoughts in, I first try to use love as the basis of that.
Okay.
And go ahead.
No. I am. This is all you. I'm letting you drive this. There's so many questions that I could ask you, but I mean, I'm really just liking in listening to what you have to say.
Yeah. I mean, I am love. I am peace. I am strong, brave, fearless, shy. I'm who I need to be when I need to be it.
So for us who don't know you, like, so were you always this way?
No,
and
God,
if you weren't, so when would you say, in mind you, audience, we did not discuss that this is, and I don't think this is where we thought the conversation was gonna go.
No.
But I love it because you know how I said I like the free flowingness of things. So, when would you say that, or maybe what would you say happened that made you really find yourself?
So I was very much so a people pleaser. That's how I grew up. I grew up Southern raised, very much so religious.
Yeah.
So, by the time when I came out the womb, I was probably in church 2 days later.
I think similar.
2 days later, and I probably was there 3-4 days a week till I was like 18.
With Sunday service,
Sunday Bible study,
Wednesday
choir rehearsal Saturday. Yeah. I'm ironing church curtains, making sure they straight, and I'm cleaning up the church on Saturdays. Yeah. It was the whole
organizing the pews.
Man, my mom was a single mom, lover. Because after I've gotten older, I realized that even though she was my parent, I was placing an expectation on her to be a parent the way that I thought parents should be.
Right, yeah. That's
and honestly, she was going through her own life shit. She still is going through her own life shit, and we just happen to be along the way for the ride.
Shout out to all the single parents.
Shout out to all the single parents. So for me, it definitely was a point for probably around 30 after my divorce.
Okay.
So I was married.
Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, I was married for less than a year. And I got married to the timeline of what society, I thought society should have me be. Okay. At 30 or by 30, you're supposed to be married.
That's
kids,
what you're supposed to do.
Picket fence type deal. Yeah. I had family pressures, friend pressures of, that I should be in that position in life. So for me, I got with my ex-husband, and we both were in a position to where we had never been married before. Okay. We both had good jobs. We both had. We could compile together and build. So we was like, shit, I love you, you love me,
This is what we're supposed to do.
This is,
let's do it.
This seems right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It seems right. So all in all, we got married. We got married to marriage. And we didn't get married to each other.
Gotcha. So would you say that the relationship devolved after the marriage?
Yeah, okay. So,
or was it starting to devolve before the marriage?
No. Well, it did probably started to break up before the marriage. But we pushed through all the red flags, every single one of them.
Every single red flag. But that's what, so, one of the hardest things I think, once again, this is Elise's podcast.
We're rolling with it, baby.
We're going with it, but I'm gonna go ahead and say this. One of the hardest things I think as men that we have a hard time with is, we kind of live by a certain code of what men should do and what men shouldn't do, right? Mm-hmm. So it's kind of that ideal of not showing weakness and accepting a bad situation because you're taught that like a man should be there to deal with it no matter what. So as a woman, like, what does that look like on the other side? Like, I
was always a competitor. So for me, I gave everything that I had until I realized that I just lost.
Losing
freaking sucks.
I will say this. My biggest fear in life is loss.
Yes.
Loss of life, loss of friends, loss of time. all these losses. That's,
I had a different perspective then on what loss was. Because now the tattoo coming out of that I have is failure is never a what is it?
Have I seen this tattoo?
Let's see.
I don't think I've seen this one.
Never a failure, always a lesson.
Okay.
So I literally had to put myself into a situation where I had to perceive that my failings isn't a loss, it's a lesson.
Elise, how old are you for the audience?
I am 34 years of human age.
You're 34 years of human. We don't know how much alien age you are, but you are definitely 34 years of age.
34, yep.
Okay, so I definitely feel that. I mean, I have a similar tattoo like that on my left wrist also.
Okay.
Which is Destiny Still Arrives. Which
indeed.
Yeah. So granted, the nerd in me. Shout out Brandon, all us black male nerds in the world.
Love y'all.
Yeah. What that tattoo meant to me was, it keeps me grounded.
Yes.
It keeps me grounded
yes.
because it reminds me that, things hurt.
Yeah.
Loss,
and they will.
Yeah, and they will. And loss definitely hurts.
It does.
But ultimately, whatever I'm supposed to be and whoever I'm supposed to be with, or whatever I'm supposed to be doing is on the other side of that. So
it is.
So it reminds me not to, my dad always told me, you as a man, and you feel hurt, you feel pain, but you know what, you feel it today, and then tomorrow you strap up your bootstraps, and you get back to it and you keep going.
Yeah.
So.
And you have to allow yourself to feel it. That for me, because when I got in that marriage, and I ignored all those red flags, and I still decided to do it anyway. Once we finally got into the marriage, there were certain things that I had to realize about my ex-husband that he wanted me to be that I just simply was not.
So just for clarity standpoint, how long were y'all together before y'all got married?
A year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah, we were together for about a year and a half. We lived together with one another. We struggled. But again, we were so committed to getting married that those struggles seemed, they were definitely real, but compared to the goal, they were kind of minute.
Gotcha.
We could get to this. Right. We can dismiss this because marriage is the ultimate goal. And so, we kept dismissing those red flags. We kept trying to put those fires out or shelf them, which is what a lot of people do. We'll put that on the shelf and come back to it. By the time we probably was like 6 months into our marriage, that fucking shelf was full.
Well, see, so why? So why is it for the people who have been married? So why is it that and even if you saw the red flags or the signs that maybe it's not working, before you got married, like why do things change after marriage? Like why once that title's attached,
they
don't.
Do
you think? But it seems. So,
but you think it does, like because we
so
did.
It seems so to me. It seems like, and mind you, again, audience, we did not plan on talking about marriage today in this conversation at all.
Right.
But I mean, it seems to me that once people get married, it's almost like the rules change, or you learn something different, or there's an expectation of behavior that is that people fail to meet. Put it that way.
It's so funny because I just did a post on this.
You did.
And you guys can follow me definitely on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, the Convo L&E, where you can find all this stuff, these conversations to be had. But I did a post because I'm in a situation after being married and divorced, I don't want to get married again.
There is nothing wrong with that.
I only want to get married if it makes sense business-wise, meaning that there's a partnership or some type of benefit for us financially to where getting married makes sense.
So, okay, this is one chance, one sound. That's the first time I've actually said that.
It is.
Well, actually, sorry. This is one chance, many sounds, because we've rebranded it.
Okay.
So,
okay.
One chance, many sounds.
We'll do a drop before you leave here, so we can put this on the front end of it.
I like it. So again, so when you talk about marriage and not wanting to get married, Elise is going to keep it 100 with y'all and 100 with me.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say that your inability to want to get married means that you don't want to be with one single person?
No, I won't say that, because my thing is, when I put that post out there, it was more so of defining why, like, in this whole dating thing for me now, like, it blows my mind that people commit to you in levels.
I saw you talk about this. I want you to elaborate on that, because I had a lot of questions. So I want to I want to be the male representation of that love thing. But I want you to talk first, and then I'm going to chime in.
So the conditioning wise teaches us that marriage is the ultimate goal, right?
Yes.
So you court somebody.
Yes.
Then you decide to date them, meaning that you make them your girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yes.
And then after a while, you then make them your husband and wife.
Yes.
Now, the perceived conditioning is, when I'm dating you, I trust you at one level, or I'm going to give you a certain amount of myself at one level. When I commit to you as a girlfriend or boyfriend, because one of those memes that are often shared or passed around is, don't do for your boyfriend or girlfriend what you do for your husband and wife. Well, if I'm never going to get married, then what does that mean for me?
I guess to some people, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
There's levels
you know
to
what I'm
this,
saying?
right?
Like, and there's definitely levels. I agree that there's levels of you exposing yourself through vulnerability, but
right.
Commitment.
Well, so then that's a big thing, because I've even seen in my in dating since I was 17, whatever. People always say, hey, you know what, I'm not going to do this for you. Now if you're my husband, now we'll do this, and it's like, well, why is that? So even the expectations as a man, it's like, you expect me to pay for meals and these certain things. So is that it seems like we categorize what we want to categorize, and it's like, so I'm good with that. I'm fine with paying for meals. That's fine. I can live with that. However, what expectations for women who hold themselves or hold men to that standard do they fill? Because there's got to be an equal opposite, right? There's got to be positive and negative.
So it doesn't have to be equal opposite.
I believe what you're saying, but I'm saying for the people, because I don't think you believe that. So I'm not asking you. I'm asking for those women who do believe that. What do you think? So you have a group of women friends, I'm sure. So, without diving into their business, what do you think is the most consistent thing that is either a letdown or something that they feel men are lacking to provide?
Honestly, honesty. Because guess what?
What is honesty?
See? And you see how you got all in the mic on that shit? You got real sexy with it too. Well, what is honesty?
Seriously.
That's really what it is,
Bruce.
So
one thing I saw that meme that I saw that resonates with me, and I still haven't figured out the answer to as a man, is a man more in love with the woman he lies to, or the woman he tells the truth to?
I hate that meme, because it's neither. He's fucking in love with himself. And he doesn't love either one of them, because honestly, like, if he loved either one of them, he would be honest in the first place. No relationship is a successful relationship with deceit. And the woman that he's honest with, like, he's going to, like, he honestly, it doesn't even mean that he loves him, because honesty and love have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Gotcha.
Being honest is who you are characteristic wise.
Right.
Who you love is who you love. Like, and people have different perceptions of what that L word means.
What does it mean to you?
So many people use your name.
Elise Sadler, Convo L&E.
Love is freedom.
Love is freedom.
That's exactly what it means to me.
Freedom.
Love is freedom.
Okay.
Love is allowing somebody to be who it is they want to, who it is they are, who it is they want to be, pursue their life goals, pursue their life dreams, and loving them enough to say, you know what? I love who you are as a person, because you vibrate on the same frequency that I do, because you offer reciprocity in the things that I need in relationship to keep me here with you. Gotcha. And this is love on a.
So are you as a woman intimidated by men who don't? Maybe intimidated is not the right word.
Okay, but I'm listening.
But are you discouraged at all by men who don't have the same beliefs, or maybe feel as you, because this is a thing, right? Because I can feel you, like all of you, right? I can like everything you're about.
But I'm a gypsy. When I say these things to men, they're like, So you want to be free. So you just want to like, you know what I'm saying? It's love, it's freedom. You just want to like, and I'd be like, bruh.
So this is what I would say. Well, again, this is Elise Sadler's podcast, right? This is a woman-led podcast, right? Not female-led, Brandon. A woman-led podcast.
Oh God, y'all done got scorned for saying female.
Well, it's an internal battle we're having,
gotcha.
but I'm working on it. I don't believe saying female is disrespectful, but you know, if people feel it's disrespectful, then I'm going to try to adjust to it.
Okay.
So I would say to you, when it comes to love, I think it's sacrifice. Like I don't know why or when love became sacrifice to me. But what I mean by that is it's just like, what are you willing to give up? Like, what would you be willing to, you know, dive on the grenade for, right? Like, and I feel like that's how I measure love. My friends always make fun of me because I'm very quantitative. You know, shout out to B-Hop, shout out to Travis, shout out to Sharper, everybody, Gaudy, everybody who's on our podcast. But yeah, shout out to CT and Transmission Dropping. But yeah, love to me means sacrifice. And what are you willing to give up for a person or a thing? Because I feel like if you're not willing to give up at all or something important, then you don't really love it. You know, if you can't, same way, like if a guy is cheating, right? Let's put it like that. If you can't stop messing with all these other women, you know,
then you need to be in a polyamorous relationship.
Well, that's fine.
Hold on. Wait a minute. And just not cheating. Okay. No. I'm sorry.
So let's reset.
Because I like that.
Yeah.
Because the misconception of polyamorous relationships is that because people have it's sexually based.
Do you believe in polyamorous?
I do. I am like 1,000% for polyamorous relationships.
So this is the first time that I'm going to say publicly on the air for anybody who's still listening to this point that I do believe in polyamorous relationships. There are people close to me that know that, but yeah. So let's go with that. Never have I been in one, but I believe in them.
A lot of men think that because, and women, I wouldn't say men, I'm just going to say people. A lot of people think that, you know, when people cheat, that they're already in this already secretive polyamorous relationship. Polyamory has absolutely nothing to do with cheating. Cheating is deceptive on so many different levels, and, you know, polyamorous relationships is probably the most transparent, the most honest, and the most self-evaluating and assessment relationships that you're ever going to be in, because it forces you to completely be honest with the people that are involved, because they're going to give their consent of whether or not they want to be a part of it based off of your honesty.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's kind of the same things in monogamous relationships as well. However,
can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
Straightforward. You said I can ask you anything, right?
Yep, I'm good.
Do you believe in monogamy?
Yeah. Okay. I definitely believe that monogamy can work. Okay. You know, like I'm a fan of people that can commit to being with one person at a time. Yeah. You know, throughout their existence of living here.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
It's not even a sound, because I mean, I'm pretty sure that there's people that you have met that have been in relationships where they're just being committed to that one person.
Absolutely.
You know, however, they may have just like with a monogamous relationship, polyamorous relationships, they have their battles and ups and downs too. So, and they have jealousy, they have envy, all the things.
That's a real thing.
Monogamy is just simply a choice of saying, you know what, regardless of my intimate desires, regardless of my sexual desires, of being with somebody else outside of this relationship, I am going to commit myself to being with this one person.
So I think one of the misconceptions about people, like I think you can believe in people being polyamorous, or you can believe in people being monogamous. I think sometimes people think you can only believe in one or the other.
Like, I
think that's,
I agree with that.
Like, so I can say I believe in both, while not, because I've told you I don't practice, you know, being poly at all.
Right.
However, I can believe in it, and I can understand. I can understand it, and I can agree with it. Doesn't mean that's. You know,
and that's the beauty behind the Conversation podcast, you know, because what we do is we invite people to give their different perspectives.
Absolutely.
And be open about their different perspectives on different things. But we learned so much. One of my favorite sayings is, I know everything because I know nothing.
Right.
You know, when I put myself in a situation where I'm being open to different people's perceptions, just because I have somebody on my show that explains to me, or that it's like a 100% polyamory person, you know, and they divulge with me all these different, tricks of the trade and all this other stuff. It doesn't mean that I'm taking on that, because I'm like, you know what, I agree with you. If I agree with you and your perception or your lifestyle, it doesn't mean that I'm taking that on for myself.
Right.
It just simply means I'm open enough to be like, you know what, I get it. Hey,
I can get it and because I think one of the biggest misconceptions in life is perspective. Like, and if anybody's ever been in a relationship with me that's listening to this, probably heard me say perspective is the big thing, and understanding people's perspective, because we all have different backgrounds and how we were raised and certain trigger points and those other things for us. So just because things don't affect us immediately doesn't mean that, other people have the same sentiment towards those particular things. So,
and you can have a different perspective than somebody and be in a relationship. However,
absolutely.
It doesn't mean that because you have those different perspectives that it's now a time for one person to convince the other person that theirs is the right way. It's a million ways to get to an answer, guys. A million ways. Like,
so what's funny about that? And I don't mean to take it to education real quick, but I can remember a time in being in school, and I think it was like solve for the angle of a triangle, something like that.
Slavery.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I solved it, but it wasn't the way.
Show your work,
my teacher
Bruce.
was like, "How'd you figure that out?" Because you didn't even have the correct information to be able to solve it, but you solved it and you got it correct. And I did have my work down on how I did it, and I kind of backdoored my way into the answer.
Right.
And I remember her saying, like, yeah, well, your answer's right, but your work was wrong, And I'm like, well, what difference does it make? So my question is, I guess, like, are we too structured in even our school systems, like that we teach that you have to learn things a certain way at a certain time?
I mean, people have to get to the fact that, listen, this system is what it is. Like, I mean, of course, we can fight to change it.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, you know what, I'm homeschooling my kid. I mean, you don't necessarily.
Too lazy.
Like, exactly.
Right.
So it's like either, and in some way and fashion, we all have to conform.
Yeah.
If we live in this world and want the things that we want, then we have to conform in some fashion or another in order to get those things.
Right.
So the school system is literally society's blueprint of how they want you to do something.
Okay.
If you're going to attend a public school, then guess what? Fuck it. You're just going to have to do that. If you're going to work at this job, no matter how many suggestions that you have of how to get to this one thing, they have procedures and protocols in place for you to do that. Guess what? You work there.
So my question for you is, this version of Elise, is this the same version that I would get if I were to walk across your job?
Now, if we were to have this conversation, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. If we were to have the conversation, absolutely.
Okay.
But, just in generally speaking, normally we don't engage on a personal level or deep personal level or just, super.
Right.
I guess those kind of if I have those conversations with my employee with my coworkers, then yes, they get this part, but they don't. I don't get a lot of that.
So I think it's funny because I feel like in the Black community, especially because I can't speak for any other community, like I feel like we get judged so much for code switching. Like being able to turn it off and turn it on when we need to. Because it's like if you were real, who
judges though? Is it people in our own community?
But can I ask? Are other communities asking the question of, are you really, white? Are you really Hispanic? Like, I feel like and maybe because I'm only Black, I feel like I've already heard that in a Black community where we consistently test that.
Exactly.
Like,
you don't hear it. I never hear white people be like, oh, there he is code switching. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. He's not really white. He's not really white.
I've never heard an Asian. And I'm friends with so many people of so many different cultures. Like, and it's such a letdown and such a hurtful thing to understand and to really see the whole grand scheme of things that we are our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
Like, literally, Who's holding us back? We're holding us back.
Right.
Because, people, and I'm tired of us being in a situation where we're always comparing ourselves to another culture. Or movement. Because I just saw today on my timeline where somebody was like, well, the LGBTQ community has made this advancement, you know what I'm saying, in their community in the last 10, 15 years. And here in the black community, we should be ashamed of ourselves looking at how far that they've advanced themselves within political, economical structures in society versus where we are now. And I had to look at that thing and I'm just like, you know what? First of all, we're comparing. Stop.
Don't compare.
Don't compare.
Never compare.
Secondly, if you really look at the bottom line of it, the platform that I run the conversation, it's about being the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
If you want to see better in your community, guess what? You got to be better in your community. Quit complaining about it. Quit looking for the next person to start the next movement. Stop it. We have to figure out as black people as black people as a whole, what are we uniting on? Yeah. What is the cause? Because we got so many different ones right now that we can't concentrate on one.
Right, and we're it's kind of backwards because it's like on one hand it's like supporting black business, right? That's a real thing. So you could support black business and then from a consumer standpoint expect a discount because you feel like you should be looking out for me,
right?
But on the from the production standpoint, not executing to standards because you feel like, well, we're trying to do it. So now a shirt I ordered 5 days ago, we're 20 days down the line, I still haven't gotten that shirt.
Right.
But you expect me to accept that because you're a small black-owned business. It's like, well, I still expect the same level of thing.
Right.
So I think it's tough. I think it's something that as a black community we're going to have to definitely really focus and adjust on.
Yeah, I mean, we are, and we'll get to that. At the end of the day, I'm just being a change I need to see in my community, which is why I have community service events that I have on my platform.
I like that. Can you explain these community service events? I really want to know about that.
So ultimately what I do is I have people that are in the platform who have nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
I encourage them to list their community service things that they have going on. And, once a month we try to actually as a whole adopt one of those nonprofit organizations and actually go as a platform or as a people who are gathered in a platform to actually go represent that particular nonprofit organization.
And are these all Charlotte based? Just for our audience, because I don't think we really established that. Convo L&E is based in Charlotte, whereas One Chance Many Sounds is based in Northern Virginia.
Yeah, so. And it is. I wouldn't say it's centrally in Charlotte, because we have the Gastonia area.
The greater Charlotte area.
So the surrounding areas definitely those people, but 2020 the conversation plans to start what we call C communities, where we have different communities of people who are in the actual conversation that are around the world, meet with one another and figure out, together in that particular space and area where they are, what they can do to make the difference in that community.
So transition a little bit to that, or segueing into that. So how do you feel about, obviously you're on my podcast tonight, today, whatever. And how do you feel about joint, why is it important for podcasts to promote or support, even when we grow from each other, we split off from each other? Why is it still important to get the message out there?
I mean, there's strength in numbers, but there's also greater strength in connectivity.
Yeah,
we were made to connect, and I don't care who you are. Unless you hit the lottery or something. Hell, even if you do hit the lottery, the government had to help you in that. We need each other in order to make, as podcasters, in order to get those numbers, we need one another. We need to connect with one another. We need to be in a position to where we're allowing ourselves to promote what we do just in the podcast world.
Absolutely.
And I'm still a baby in this. The podcast started in January for us.
You're right.
It started in January. We went 3 months. We take a break, for about a month. And we started season 2. Season 2 is going to end in August. we're going to take a break in August and we're going to roll out with season 3.
Okay. And I like it. I like the organizational structure of that.
Yeah. If this is, listen, I work a regular job.
We all do.
Exactly. A lot of the podcasters work a regular job. Yeah. So this is just something that they like to do as a fulfillment aspect.
Sounds like a therapy. I think it's
therapy. It can, and it's different things for different people.
Absolutely. And so question for you, not to put you on the spot. How many episodes of One Chance Mini Sounds have you seen or heard?
2.
2. Okay. Which ones do you remember?
It was one. I can't recall exactly which ones, but one of them, there was a chick that was off camera.
That was asking the questions.
Yes.
Okay.
So I saw that one, and then I also saw another one where it was, I think maybe like 4 of you guys. It wasn't a whole bunch of you.
Yeah, and it varies. It typically varies. So my question for you, and I'm about to put you on the spot with a few questions, but I'm going to start with the One Chance One Sound stuff, or One Chance Mini Sound stuff. Is so of those, was there anything that stood out to you? Was there any question or anything that we discussed that positively or negatively you were like, ooh, ear raved, or like, yeah, like, you do your yeah, like that whole thing.
So I will say first and foremost that Black podcasters are desperately needed in the podcasting world.
Thank you. We try to.
They are, like, Google, Stitcher, Switcher, iTunes, they are aggressively looking for Black podcasters.
We're trying to be a part of that community.
Yes. So definitely I wanted to say kudos to you guys, because that's the first thing I noticed with you all. I'm like, ooh, they're Black. Ooh, they're men.
Right.
Ooh, they actually are talking about some things.
Ooh, they have beards.
Yeah. And you guys are very much so attractive.
I gotcha.
So to put all that together, and then also to see that there is a intelligence, that's associated with that, but also to see the different perspectives. So that's one thing that I appreciated when watching it, is to see the different perspectives that are coming from it. Because when I looked at it, it looked as if you guys were challenging and discovering along the way.
It is. And so sometimes that makes it almost hard to reply, because you're figuring it out. And I do like the unscripted nature of that, because there is an element of not knowing a person's perspective and figuring out on camera. And you only have some amount of seconds to think about or come up with a response to those things.
Right.
I definitely, again, like those guys, I don't, for anybody who doesn't know, I'll say it again. When we first rolled it out, it was One Chance One Sound before it became One Chance Mini Sounds. And I didn't realize how much I really cared about the opinions of others or my brothers or in that community. But also the passion that they have, and being able to understand, like, everybody wants a platform to be able to talk,
Right.
One of the things I've heard the most, and which I'm going to ask you because it's come up to me, is everybody has their favorite characters, or not characters, because we're not characters, but personalities. So what personality, whether it's me or any of the other 5 guys, have you heard speaking that you identify with, where you're like, man, like, that's funny, or is there any particular person that you like to hear talk?
So, I will say that it would be you.
Yeah.
Only because I haven't listened. If I have to choose to relate to somebody, like, I have to connect with that person.
Yeah.
So I haven't yet connected with anybody yet.
Gotcha.
So once I put myself in a situation where I can really connect with them, then I'll be able to say, you know what, I like such and such.
Right.
I like him because he, I am a why person. I'm not just going to rattle off to you, why I think I like somebody. I want to know that that's who I like and why I like them. So I would say right now I like you, because I like the fact that you provide structure for the show. You're a very good host. You're a very good interviewer.
I am making it up as I go.
But you're very good at it.
I'm making it up completely as I go. Don't practice it.
You are very good at interviewing, because you listen.
Yeah.
And you also have an agenda of what it is that you kind of want to tackle in your mind. But you also are able to quickly, when you hear somebody give a response, and it's something that intrigues you, you're able to allow that curiosity to point you into another direction, to lead to a more in-depth or to challenge them, and that's always good for conversation.
And that honestly, that's the hardest part. When you got 5 people talking, and you got 5 people, and you could tell, trying to figure out what's passionate, to a particular person to talk about, and giving them space to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then trying to move on from that and get the opinions of other people. Like I'm having to adjust with that, and also play with different ideas to keep us on track and keep us on subject and keep the conversation moving. But the thing that I like is, of all the people I've spoke to, like, you're the first person who's actually said that I was their favorite person to listen to, so I appreciate that. Shout out the one chance part. Shout out to Bobby. He's he's a co-creator of all this, him and Brandon. And he definitely has a level of smoothness that he brings to everything. And then I think Brandon is super woke in that regard, but not necessarily woke from the activist standpoint or anything like that, but just, definitely provide very real, like, he's true to himself more than anybody I think I've ever met in my life. Like, he does not step outside the line. He does not waver. He does not care about public opinion or anything else. I literally was working out with this man at the gym and saw him just straight up, like, be like, hey, are you done with that machine? Because you need to move. Whereas me, like, I'm going to be like, all right, like, do the whole polite, like, wait thing. So shout out to those guys. And then Gaudy seems to be everybody's, like, the funniest guy in the world because he's so open talking to him about sex and all that other stuff. And so, I mean, but it's fun.
Sex is always
And he talks
great.
about, sex is great. Sex is great. And he talks about more than that. And he has a lot of opinion. Me and him got in a vehement argument about James Brown and Aaliyah. So anybody should check that out on our outdoor podcast. But yeah, no, I mean, let's spend some time talking about sex. So can I ask you some sex questions?
Sure.
Am I allowed to do that? So what's your favorite thing about sex? Because I asked that on my last podcast to the guy. So let me ask it to a woman.
My favorite thing about sex is the persons that I'm with complete ability to be vulnerable with me.
Can you explain vulnerability?
So vulnerability in the sense of, if you have decided to commit to the acts of having sex with me as a woman, at the stage in life where I am currently, I expect that you give me reciprocity in giving me the things that I need, just besides good dick. Like, I need the emotional connection to be there, and I need for you to be able to be in a situation where you are up to pleasing me in the way that I need to be pleased, which means that your ego is turned off.
Okay.
And
so I have a question. So in terms of vulnerability and sexual vulnerability, because we're talking about, so it goes beyond the physical vulnerability of it all. Okay? Definitely
goes beyond the physical. Because I mean, it's not just physical, in my opinion.
No, it's not.
It's not just physical. And I will only say this because, men, please understand and be aware that for women, we're looking for you all to provide us with a sensuality and a passion that we need.
Okay.
And a lot of us don't know what it is that we even want and or need in sex, women-wise, because we're always taught society-wise to please the man.
Yeah.
So when we're taught to please the man, a lot of times we're left not pleased because our act is solely based off of making sure that you're straight. And until we gain our own sexual confidence as women, and we just like, hold up, dude. Like, I understand you here, but I need for you to do A, B, C, X, Y, Z, because what you think you doing ain't getting me off.
So what is let's say your climax point? Like, is it the physical or is it the mental? Like, so, I was told once, I don't know how true it is because no guy really knows. I guess not everybody can have a vaginal orgasm or a clitoral orgasm, like whatever thing is. So how have you, I guess, helped your partner get to find your climax?
I mean, it's conversation. It's conversation during sex. It's conversation after sex. It's conversation at the kitchen table when you eating dinner. Like, it's in the car when y'all chilling. Like,
I think people should be able to talk about
sex. Yes, it's literally talking about it. Like, if you don't feel comfortable and vulnerable enough with asking your partner to please you in a certain way, then you're doing yourself an injustice.
Right.
And a lot of times we will not have those conversations, especially with women. We will not have those conversations with how somebody can please us because we don't want to hurt their feelings.
Have you ever faked an orgasm?
No, I have never faked an orgasm. Well, I take that back. I'm pretty sure I have when I was younger.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Yeah,
what I've heard,
I'm pretty sure I have when I was younger. Like now, hell no. If you can't please me, you gonna listen. And you got dudes. Like, first of all, check your damn egos, dudes.
So what does that even mean? Because I don't believe I have an ego.
Oh my God,
maybe I do.
Yeah, you do. Everybody has an ego. I have an ego too.
I don't think I have.
And I like mine stroked sometimes as well. But you have these men that are used to pleasuring women and getting a reaction from them.
Yeah.
And so if they pleasure you and don't get that reaction from you, then they, some of the questions may be, was I good enough? Was I better than your last? And then in those situations, you're like, okay, my dude, like, do you want me to be honest? Because once I tell you that you just not that great, then at that point, I mean, if you asking me to be honest with you, I'm going to tell you. But a lot of women are just going to be like, yeah, they're going to stroke your ego.
Do you think women are? Do you think women care as much about that type of stuff that men do? Like, cause if me and you were having sex,
we were in a relationship, hell yeah, I want to know if my man is pleased and satisfied.
But would you compare? We obviously, me and you both agree we don't like that comparing aspect of things. But would you be intimidated by me saying, "Yo, like this other girl gave me better head, or she rode dick better"? Like, would that be offensive?
Honestly, like I would be offended by the fact that you're telling me that another woman was able to please you in that capacity, rather than telling me this is how I like it.
Right.
Because that's two different things.
Right. And I agree. But what I'm saying is from the standpoint, if you ask the question, like preface it, like if you were asking me,
hey,
if
anybody asked the question,
like,
you subject the question,
to it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, hell no. I don't care if it's a dude or a chick. You subject to it.
Okay.
If somebody's being honest, and they're living their truth in that regards, then you ask for it. Deal with it.
Don't ask for questions that you're not ready to deal with the answers
Bingo.
for.
Don't.
That's a real thing. And for guys, I can even say for guys, that's a real thing. So real quick, I guess I want to know, do you have any questions for me?
What gets you excited about the podcast that you're doing?
Honestly, it's not even the recording. It's the build-up. Like I like talking about the stuff with my friends off the air. I like that I legitimately have to tell them constantly, we're not going to talk about it right now, that we're going to record it. And just seeing the passion in which each of them provides something different to it all, and I think to watch it manifest itself on camera or even in an audio form or whatever, however you consume it,
right?
Like that's art making. I think that's what is the most exciting thing to me. I've always said this. Obviously, you like the likes and the subscribes and the views and all that stuff, but I could care less about that if every Sunday it meant a lot that me and 5 guys, no matter if we were out partying or drinking, that we took 30 minutes to have a real conversation,
right?
About something that's exciting, and to some degree too. I think the biggest part about the podcast people don't realize is this is Black men being very vulnerable, especially when we're asked a certain amount of questions on camera that we don't prior know what those questions are going to be. Right. So, I hope people take away something from that, and we try to be as honest as possible, and go with that. So that's what excites me about it.
That's what's up. Okay. So are you in a situation where, in doing this, I know this is your baby. I know you guys are developing it. You're definitely in the beginning stages very of much. It, and I definitely want to tell you all that I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I don't think a lot of times people actually say the words "I'm proud of you" or "I'm happy." I didn't grow up with that too much, so that's a real thing for me.
I'm proud of you all because it takes a different level of courage and bravery to be transparent and truthful and vulnerable to other people and definitely to the world. You are going to get ostracized. You're going to get criticized. You're going to get all these different ranges of judgment from your opinions, from your truth that you live, and you literally have to put yourself in a situation every day where you remind yourself that this is who I am. This is why I'm being true. This is why I stand on the belief and the truth that I stand on. And when you put yourself in a position where you're constantly reminding yourself of that, you know, that the he say, she say, the judgments, they're gonna be there, but they're also gonna roll off your, you know, it's gonna roll off your back because
right.
it's you're trying to live that.
So the biggest thing I've learned too is like, you know, so once you make something public, right, you know, it's out there for everybody. You have people that you've had private conversations with that will reach out to you and they ask you for more clarity on, you know, like, oh, okay, you said this, why didn't you say this at the time? So I think it's important to let people know, like, this is all a part of our growing experience. Like a lot of things that we are speaking on now and how we even speak on it now.
Right.
Because 5 years ago or 6 years ago it may have looked different, doesn't mean that right now we're not, you know, aware of maybe some wrongs that we may have had. And so the best thing that I've tried to do for those people who have reached out to me about maybe, you know, some mistakes that I may have made, you know, was to acknowledge and own the mistakes that I made.
Yes, own your shit, guys. Own it.
And basically just to apologize, you know, for those things, you know, because, you know, obviously looking back at it, you know, there are always things that we could do differently,
right?
You know, and granted, they may have helped us get to where we are and where we want to be, but still, that doesn't mean that for whatever reason, what we did was right.
Right.
And so knowing that it wasn't right is a big thing. So.
Yeah, living your truth and putting yourself out there for the world to see also, you know, develops or helps you develop some type of self-accountability as well. Because if this is who you're going to be, if this is what you're going to say, then there's a certain... If you're not saying it in a sense of you're placing yourself in a genre like a comedian or an actor where you can switch, you know, and you know, and people are expecting you to be a comedian or expecting you to be an actor or an actress, but not necessarily they don't know who you are as a person. Platforms like podcasts make people see who you are as a person. Yeah. So it gives you a little bit of self-accountability as well, because if this is the truth that you're speaking, if this is what you are saying to the people and this is what you believe to your core, then believe it, but believe it and live it.
Right.
Believe it and be it, you know, because somebody is going to, and that doesn't mean be perfect. Shit, I tell people all the time, I may say some stuff and I may not necessarily be in alignment of living that every single time. You know, I may make a mistake. I may make, you know, a wrong judgment, or, you know, I think something is right and whatever. Like, but again, at the end of the day, I'm still able to own my shit.
Right.
You know, and that's a greater part of this experience that you guys are embarking on, because your camaraderie with one another is going to increase significantly because you're going to have your friends hold you accountable as well. So,
and that topic, and you know, not to keep this podcast going too long, because I don't want to hang everybody, you know, on it.
Right.
But again, though, that's a big thing, is that ultimately we are all different people, and so that chemistry, but it's very natural. It's very, like, again, I want to stress people, these aren't scripted dialogue. We are actually friends, and we're friends, you know, adjusting on the fly to information that we're hearing from each other. We had a conversation about mental health. I don't know if you got a chance to see that one.
Yeah, I did see a little bit of that one. That was really good.
So, and in that conversation, none of us had spoken, at least out loud, to everybody in the group. And it's not only putting it on a very public platform, that we've all been in therapy before.
Yeah.
And that was the first time. And so even for me as the person who's moderating or hosting it, and you're like, you have this taboo feeling like, man, I've been in therapy, and I'm, you know, people may think I'm this or that, and then now you're hearing like your brother to your left, your brother to your right, it's also been through it, you know.
And that's encouragement as a whole,
absolutely,
to people, because just like you were shocked. I mean, even before you even brought the subject, or the subject came up in discussion, there were still some taboo things, even with, you know, you guys as personally as people that were there. But even right there, then on air live, and even right now, you're able to admit that you were in a situation where those thoughts were still taboo, but it was still a relief to be able to, you know, hear that from other people. Like,
and these are, but, you know, and it's crazy too to think about it, because like these are the people you hang out with 3 to 4 times a week. You think you know about as much of them as anybody would know, or any woman or any person they were talking to would know, and you still hear in that moment, and you're like, I'm not alone. Fuck. Like yes, please talk more. Right. So that, I think, to be honest with you, I think that was my favorite moment. Not necessarily my favorite podcast, but my favorite moment of any podcast was from an enlightenment standpoint and brotherhood standpoint, I think that was like the one where I realized like this is what we're here to do. You know, if one other person at home is sitting down and is able to connect to that, whether they're a black man or, you know, black female, but this podcast is for everybody. So if they're white, Hispanic, whatever, that's what we want. That's my vision with it, is that somebody, and that's why I think I have so many voices on the podcast, is because I want everybody to be
able to connect with somebody.
Yeah, because you may not be able to connect with me. I'm a lot. I'm a lot. But if you can connect with Brandon, if you can connect with Sharper, if you can connect with Wood, if you can connect with God, if you can connect with B-Hop, like if you could connect with any one of those individuals and how they view things and see yourself in them, even if it's just for one topic, then we've won.
And shout out to the Conversation Lifestyle and Entertainment podcast, because we kind of focus on the same exact layout. You know, it's a total of 4 of us, 2 women, 2 men. I try to keep it balanced as far as men and women, because I want for people to do the same exact thing. You know, shout out to L Boogie, to G Money, to Slim, because you know they are what makes the podcast. And the beautiful thing about it is their strengths and what they do individually as people is what helps the podcast to grow and to flourish the way that it does. Exact same thing that, you know, you're looking at vision wise as far as impact wise. It's, you know, one of the things that we do with the conversation as well. I'm gonna leave everybody with this with this story, and it is the starfish story.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've heard of it or that, you know, your audience have, but the story basically is about a young person.
Okay.
And they're out on the seashore, and they're throwing, like, the tide is high, and they're slinging all of these starfish. They're walking by themselves on the shore, and they're slinging all of these starfishes back into the ocean. And they're by themselves. And so an older gentleman, comes walking on the beach, and he sees this young person throw these starfishes back, and he looks at him and he says, you cannot possibly save them all.
Oh my God. I know we were supposed to end here, but I have a segue to that, but go ahead.
You know, you cannot possibly save them all. You cannot possibly make a difference in all of these starfish's lives. Like, some of them are going to die. And so the little person picks up a starfish, flings it back in the ocean, and looks at the older gentleman and says, "But I made a difference to that one."
So what's funny about that, and that's a very deep story, and I almost get goosebumps hearing it, because as I don't know if people who are listening to this know, I have a daughter. I've spoken about her on the podcast, and as of 2 weeks ago, she actually asked me the question. She didn't even ask the question. I don't even know where she got it from. We were watching Avengers or something like that, and she was like, randomly was in her iPad, and she looked up, and I'm on the phone or texting or something, and she goes, "Dad, you can't save everybody." And I was like, first of all, where did that come from? Second of all, like, how do I answer that as a father? Like, you know, you can't save everybody. And my answer is, and still is and was, but you can try.
Yeah.
So it's like, you may know the limits of things, but it doesn't mean that you can't make a difference or that you can't try to help out. I may not, with this podcast, ever reach 200 people, but I can make a difference.
Yep.
And I think that's what's important. Another person I want to shout out to is Stephen Nagati, Fanatic Perspective. Go check him out if you're looking for good sports insight. Yeah, he was another part of this. So I guess I should say there was a third. He was another third.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a thing too. And shout out to Lance and what he's doing over there.
Yeah, shout out to you as well. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say.
I also wanted to say shout out to the Milky Balls podcast.
Absolutely. Can you let people know what the Milky Balls podcast is about?
The Milky Balls podcast. You can find us at milkyballspodcast.com, on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Google Play as well. But the Milky Balls podcast is a podcast that is centered around conversations about erotic, sexual, sensual, and intimate relationships and conversations around such not. So it's a very, me and my co-host King Wisdom, Marlon, aka King Wisdom.
Gotcha.
We kind of discussed sex and communicate about sex and sensuality and eroticism. So it's because it's needed. It's not taboo. Sex is a great something that we should be comfortable talking about.
Well, it's a part of all our lives, and I think, again, like I told you off air, I said, there's no safe place to talk about sex.
Yep.
We don't talk about it in church. We don't talk about it really in school. We don't talk about it even in relationships until it's happening. So I definitely think it's good for people to be able to talk about it openly. Comforts, discomforts.
Yeah.
So I definitely applaud that y'all are doing that, and excited, like I said, to listen to that. That's cool, because I mean, a lot of times, and too, once again, shout out to Lance with Truth Be Told. I didn't actually say the name, so I want to do that. But one of the things I love doing is listening to you guys' podcasts, or not listen to your podcast, but listening to y'all channels and getting ideas, because some of the things that y'all talk about, I mean, it's not about reinventing the wheel.
Right.
A lot of times, it's like, I just want to expound on that, or I maybe want to say my opinion on that, or hear our five guys' standpoints. So I try to do my best to shout it out when I can. So if you ever hear a topic come up that maybe originated with you guys, but
hey, that's what it's about.
Yeah,
it's about
that's what it's about.
So and making one another great.
So thank you. And this was like an hour of like microphone love making. I hope the audience felt that. Like that was a connection right there.
I had a good time though.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear the audio of this and see. Just where we can do with this. And then also, like, anytime I think that you're either in this